This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
Welcome to My Business Stars, a podcast series featuring conversations with disabled business owners telling their business stories. Hosted by the Disability Business Network. Kia ora, I'm that blind woman, Julie Woods, from the Disability Business Network, host of My Business Stars. And on today's episode, we have Toni Sharp from Sharrp Kitchens. Welcome, Toni.
Good afternoon, Julie.
Now, I know you're based in Taupo. You're a Toastmaster extraordinaire and you're a volunteer for Blind Low Vision NZ. And I'm sure there's lots more to you. Where would you like to start? I guess, would you like to tell us about you and perhaps how you went blind?
Sure, no problem at all. Okay, so a little while ago, back in 1982, I lost my sight in an instant, and that's a topic or a speech title for a speech I'm going to do for an international speech contest next year called In the Blink of an Eye. And I went from fully sighted to totally blind as the result of being kicked in the face by a horse. So that followed with quite a lot of transition. I was 13 at the time, and after 2 months in hospital, I then was integrated into Homai in South Auckland, now known as BLENZ, or Blind Low Vision Education Network of New Zealand, and went through the adaptive stages of learning Braille, white cane, furthering my skill sets in touch typing, because way back then we didn't have computers or anything like that, no talking technology, things that make our lives so easy today. I managed to complete my schooling back at my home high school here in Taupo, and following that I spent a year in the States as an American field scholar, then came back home, basically got married, had a couple of kids, then the look for work began.
Yes, and is this where the business life began?
Pretty much. So I, as a result of my accident, came under the ACC umbrella. They were very supportive in assisting me to go through different phases of training for different workplaces. They placed me in work experience at a local radio station on the reception, answering phones, fielding calls, passing details on to those in the studio. I also managed to secure a time-limited contract at the local courthouse, which was work I absolutely loved, doing transcription of court hearings, also doing the mail, fielding phone calls and those types of things as well. The courthouse were happy for me to stay on in a voluntary capacity, however ACC was not, and they were pushing me to get employed. Now, it got to the point where I had people coming to me saying, hey, look, we'll try and find some form of job to put you into our organisation. One of those in particular was a lawyer who thought that I could do quite well in his office. However, that didn't eventuate. So my husband at the time and I decided, look, if we can't find employment for me, he was a cabinet maker, joiner, and gainfully employed, obviously. We thought, why not start a business ourselves? So it happened that there was a business that was on the market at the time, and through family support, we were able to purchase the business. That was we effectively started with that business on the 1st of June in 2001. So we've been going successfully now for just over 24 years.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that pathway, isn't it? And it's quite a common one. Those barriers to traditional employment often lead disabled people towards self-employment. Do you look back and Have you got any thoughts about that when you look back on it?
Yes, I do. And, obviously one of the things that as disabled people, what we realise is that our commitment to any potential employer is obviously going to be a lot more stoic and a lot more steady than what the quote-unquote undisabled world might be, given that they oftentimes have far more flexibility when it comes to being able to find employment for themselves. However, for us in the quote disabled world, it can be really tricky, whereby when we do manage to find ourselves some form of commitment by way of paid employment, we're obviously going to stick at it longer. And I find too that a lot of employers out there potentially feel that if they take a disabled person on, it's going to create more work for them. They'll have to invest more resources into possible modifications that might be required for whatever the assisted role may be. However, we in the disabled community do have support through the likes of MSD when it comes to extra training support, funding that's available for that, and also for different items that may help to keep us or get us employed in another business. Now, I was fortunate, obviously, that ACC supported me through that in the first instance, and now that we've been able to close that book, it's been fantastic because it, again, has created a form of independence for myself and for my family, now adults, my children, and enabled us all to basically continue with life in an independent fashion where we haven't been needing to be reliant on anyone to be able to support us through that process, or just through the process of independent living.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm thinking back 1982, the technology that was available to you at the time to what's available now. I mean, you've seen a huge change in adaptive technology and the technological support that you require as a blind person to navigate
Absolutely.
business in the world, yeah.
It's interesting because the first piece of talking technology or formal talking technology that I actually saw happened to be when I was at school in the States in 86. And I had a boyfriend in 1985 who was a real tech geek, and he'd been playing around with synthesizers and things like that. And he'd actually created a synthesizer that sounded very much like the early talking technology that was developed. I thought that was pretty cool. So once I got back from the States in 87, and I only did 1 year at Waikato University, but that's when the technology or the talking technology and other forms of assistive technology were starting to come through that created the equality for us in so many different levels, on so many different levels.
Yeah, and you've already talked about learning to touch type, which is a great skill for everybody to have. What did you learn from going to the States as a blind teenager?
It was interesting. So my experience was probably different to what others would have had. Now, myself and another blind member were the first disabled exchange students to take part or to be accepted into the American Field Scholarship Program. And the other gentleman, Ken, he went to Louisville in Kentucky, and his main school base was through the blindness organisation that they had there. So he basically went to a school where they had the resource room and things like that set up for blind students. However, I wanted to go to a school that did not have that connection, that had not had a blind or a disabled person through their learning education program. And the school I went to in Elkhart, which is northern Indiana, they basically only wanted to take me on board if they thought I was actually going to be able to progress, to be able to keep up, to be able to do the work commitment and effectively achieve my set goals of completing the tasks and projects, etc., throughout the course of the year. So I made that step myself as well back in 1985 after I transitioned from Homai, going back to my own local school here, fortunately supported by a teacher aide who had quite a lot of experience with blindness and was looking for a project for a year, which was great. It worked. For me, it worked in my favour, immaculately enabling me to come back home again. And so in the States, their systems are very, very different. I didn't get a lot of time because of where I was actually living, where my host family lived was a semi-rural type area. And to get to school, it was a pick up by a school bus at the front gate and drop off at the front gate again, and it wasn't really possible for me to navigate that area, no footpaths or anything like that. But I was able to navigate my way around the school. I had orientation and mobility at the school, and I'll tell you what, there's one thing to be getting your O&M training when the corridors are empty compared to when there are another two students going through them and you're trying to find doorways or staircases or whatever the case may be. But it was a fascinating experience, and I've still got great connections over there with my host family members and things like that I still keep in touch with today.
Well, it just sounds like a very formative experience, and I'm sure you learnt things there that you would have transferred to the rest of your life and indeed business. What's the best thing about being a business owner?
Security, number one. Number two, for me, because I am an office manager, I, for one, from day one, set up manual systems and processes to run all of my office-based requirements, creditors, debtors, and things like that. And I still work with those manual systems today. I have heard horror stories of different accounting packages and things like that, and not having the accessibility factors that we as blind or those dependent on text-to-speech software, or whether that be Braille conversion software or anything like that, that they're not actually compliant for us to be able to use them. So my manual system's set up from day one. It still works today. Everybody's happy, the accountant's happy, so why should I do anything different? I love the connections with our team. We've got 5 qualified tradesmen in the factory, so part of my job is, as well as doing all the taxes and wage and PAYE and all those sorts of things, is also setting up appointments, doing all the orders. So I've got quite a lot of contact with a lot of people in different aspects. And I enjoy that communication, and to be able to have the ability to link timeframes and things like that together, particularly if I am required to organise other subcontractors when we're doing installations or bits and pieces like that. And for me, it's not completely overly onerous as far as I'm concerned, but I really enjoy it. And I particularly like the developments within land revenue over the past few years, because now, rather than having the paper-based systems of filing PAYE and other taxes and things like that, it can all be done online, and that is accessible.
Good.
And even as IRD have gone through over the years and made these updates and things like that, if I can't navigate it myself, I can always jump on the line, and their support team members are incredibly helpful at making sure that I'm going through things in the systematic process that I need to follow to get the understanding. And they're always very patient and helpful with making sure we're on the right page. So it's great. And that accessibility and the whole online facility now has made things a lot less complicated as well.
a lot of people are afraid to become friends with the Inland Revenue Department. So I'm pleased that you are able to do that and benefit from it, and that their systems are accessible, because it's, we're taxpayers as well, blind business owners. So it's important, that we're able to do that as easily as possible. What advantage, Toni, do you think being blind brings to your business?
Potentially, I don't see there being any advantages. There are challenges, obviously. And you're probably going to think this is a bit cheeky, but I challenge myself every time I get a new client through the door is to see how long it takes for them to realise that I can't actually see them at all. I am a total, just for the records.
Yeah.
And, because if people come in, sometimes they have a bit of an inbuilt misperception that people with disabilities, need to be treated in a different way. However, if I can break the ice with our customers in advance of the penny dropping for them, then to me, that's a massive achievement. And the thing is, once you've made those connections, you've had that contact, you've had those conversations, and quite frequently they will happen over the phone and nobody knows any different, then people actually feel a lot more comfortable, they feel more open, and they could be in awe sometimes, I guess, but they develop a respect for who we are and for what we're doing. And, so I take that on board, and I work with it as is necessary. And when it's essential, when people come into my office, as even happened just this afternoon, saying, I need one of these. And I'll just say to them, well, you might need to tell me what that is. And, again, that always gets a bit of a laugh and probably a bit of a sheepish embarrassment from them. But at the end of the day, we get the results, and most of the time we're able to help people out with what they need. Or if I can't, then we can direct them to the team members to assist.
And business is about relationships, and being blind doesn't stop you having relationships. In fact,
absolutely.
Often they're stronger. What about networking, business networks? Do you belong to any of those, or have you joined any?
No, I don't belong to any business networks. My main networking is through Toastmasters.
Yeah. And tell us about you're awarded a QSM.
Yes. So back in the Queen's Birthday Honours List in 2014, I was honoured with receiving a Queen's Service Medal for services to visually impaired people. And that, I have to say, is one of the most humbling times of my life. Just the acknowledgement for realising that people see what I do just in daily life, just getting out there, making an impression on people without intending to or without actually realising it, to be recognised like that was absolutely amazing. It's incredible.
That's great. Great. And what about your business dream? Does Sharrp Kitchens have a dream, or do you have a business dream?
Really? I'll just stay there as long as I possibly can. I've got 8 years away from actual retirement age, but there's no pressure on me to be retiring at that point in time. I like to keep busy. I like to get out of the house, but I also love to be at home. I'm a real homebody. So having the ability to get out and do what I need to do, get back home again, my day is complete. That's awesome. And my business partner, now ex-husband, he's not looking to be retiring or selling up anytime in the near future as well. So we'll just go with the flow and have that conversation when the time is nigh.
Do you have any Toastmasters dreams? I know that Toastmasters looms large in your legend. Do you have anything that you want to achieve there?
Not really. So my main Toastmaster goal now, and for the benefit of people who may not know, Toastmasters is an organisation that helps people develop at their own pace in communication and leadership skill sets. So I have taken leadership to the full extent I can at a national level, and have been very fortunate that in the top roles of Toastmasters leadership, I was able to get in quite a lot of international travel for training, for attending international conventions, and the networks that have been made through Toastmasters is absolutely incredible. But my main Toastmaster goal now, and I'm actually currently a member of 3 clubs. I've got my home-based club of Taupo that I've been a member of now for 24 years. Also have a Zoom link or hybrid setup with a club in Taumaranui and one also in Gisborne. So if anybody's interested, we've got hybrid clubs. Just let Julie know and she can put you in contact with me. We can invite you to these other hybrid clubs, which is fantastic. But my main goal now with Toastmasters is to assist others that are coming through to gain confidence and to achieve their own goals as far as their communication and leadership skill sets are concerned. Well, it's just amazing to be able to do that and see people growing confidence in such a short time frame.
Yeah, well, that's Toni Sharp QSM for you, isn't it? Enabling others to achieve. Toni, we've reached the end of our time today on My Business Stars. It's gone really quickly. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. If people want to get hold of you, how do they do that?
Okay, you can contact me by email is probably the best. And my email address is Toni with an I at Sharrp Kitchens. Now, just to trip you up, there are 2 R's in the Sharp, just company name, .co.nz. So that's TONI@SHARRP kitchens.co.nz.
Wonderful. You've been listening to My Business Stars with that blind woman, Julie Woods, and today's guest, Toni Sharp from Sharrp Kitchens. Thank you, Toni, for joining us, and thank you for being a star.
Thank you.
The Disability Business Network is the only business network in Aotearoa, New Zealand, dedicated to business owners who live with an impairment. If you are disabled, own your own business, and would love to mix with people who look like you, then join us today at the Disability Business Network. You can find us at disabilitybusinessnetwork.org, or you can contact that blind woman, Julie Woods, on 021 913 513, or email julie@thatblindwoman.co.nz. At the Disability Business Network, we believe in disabled people being successful in their own businesses and becoming business stars.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.